Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video, and we're here again at Motorcycle Live, our favourite show in the UK, and this time we're at the Suzuki stand. So here we go with a look through their new models for 2025 along with a few old favourites. Gotta say, one thing that's apparent as soon as you hit the stand is that there aren't really that many sports bikes left in the Suzuki lineup, at least here in the UK anyway, with pretty much just the 125 left on sale in the Gixxer lineup, be that because sports bike sales have dipped over the past few years, or because emissions regulations have become increasingly strict and they've decided it's just not worth updating the 600 and 1000. So really the only bike left holding the fort is the GSX ATAR, and look, admittedly it's quite compromised, I'd say, in terms of sporting ability. It's not really built to be an out-and-out super sport, but more so an affordable middleweight all-rounder that can do a bit of everything while still retaining a little bit of a sporty edge. I will say though, if you're looking for this kind of bike, don't rule this one out, because that parallel twin, the 800, which is also in a lot of their other bikes, is really nice and pleasant to ride. You've got about 80 horsepower on tap, 78 newton meters of peak torque, but I think what makes it really quite good is the smoothness and refinement that it offers, and also it has a lovely throttle response too. Elsewhere, you've got a standard quick shifter, you've got a TFT dash with some different power maps and TC settings, some good 4-piston Nissin radial brake calipers up front, suspension's alright too, and so overall I'd say it's not outstanding in any one area versus the competition, but it's just a good package all round, and I think at least worth a demo for that torquey and smooth engine. The other option, I guess, if you do want a Suzuki with sporting abilities in 2025, is none other than the Booa. In fact, they've actually made quite a big fuss of the Booa Zone on the Suzuki stand this year, because it's actually 25 years since the introduction of the first generation. So we've got 3 generations of the bike here. We've got the first gen back over there. This is the second gen, and then the most recent one over in the corner. Looking very good, I must say, in that 25th anniversary orange livery. And they actually announced that last year for the 2024 model year to mark that 25 years since. But also across the rest of the stand, they've got a photo wall showing some of the owners' bikes. They've got some modified drag race bikes and speed record bikes, and so there's plenty to see. And I think ultimately a fitting tribute to what is, you know, one of the more famous names in the motorcycle world. I guess your best bet, if you do want something from Suzuki that does go quite quick, is actually probably to look at this sports touring area of the stand, where you've got both the GSX S1000 GT and the GSX S1000 GX. Now both of them use their litre inline 4 that makes around about the 150 horsepower mark, but the GT is the slightly lower slung bike of the two that feels that little bit more sporty because of it. The GX, on the other hand, well, that sits a little bit taller. It's more in that sort of crossover genre of bike, and so that one's probably going to be the better choice if you want something a touch more versatile, and that's also enhanced by the fact that it's their first ever bike to offer electronically adjustable semi-active suspension, so you can dial it in through the switchgear, as well as it constantly adjusting the damping in real time to give you the best possible ride based on the riding conditions and how hard you ride in. No big changes to report on these two though for 2025. In fact, it also looks like they've got pretty much the same color options, but both great performers in my book, and so definitely worth a look. But before we get onto the next bike, I just want to say a massive thanks to today's video sponsor, and that's Quadlock. Quadlock, in our experience, make the best motorcycle foam mounts with a fantastic range of products that mean there should be a mounting solution for every style of bike, from the sports bikes to the sports tourers to the adventure bikes, the nakeds and the retros. We fit Quadlock products to pretty much all the bikes we test, and we normally use their Handlebar Mount Pro, their vibration dampener, which helps to protect your phone from harmful vibes from the bike's engine, and also their brilliant wireless charging head, which keeps your phone juiced up without even having to plug it in. But on top of that, they've got a brilliant ecosystem of different products for all sorts of activities, so you can use your Quadlock case for running, cycling. They've got maritime products, they've got aviation products, they've got some camera products too, and so I'm sure if you check out the link down in the description below, you'll find something that fits your particular lifestyle and use case. So once again, a massive thanks to Quadlock for their support and for making videos like this possible. Now moving on to their naked lineup, and you've got the SV650 still hanging in there as a proven performer. Whether you want just like a nice simple bike or something to get started on, this is an excellent option. And I've got to say as well, in a market full of parallel twins, it's refreshing to still see a genuine V-twin. It does give it a little bit of a different feel, nice and slender too. And so yeah, it is a little long in the tooth now, now, but I think it's still a good recommendation in this category of bike. No big changes for 2025, but they do offer a few new color options, and I particularly like this one with the sort of very dark khaki greenish color on the tank, and then also a bit of a bronze kind of tinge to the frame and wheels, which I'd say all pulls together really rather nicely. Elsewhere in this naked lineup, we've still got the GSX 8S, which is the naked version of the 8R sports bike that we looked at earlier. Many of the same strengths, a good TFT display, the standard quick shifter, decent handling, that lovely engine as well, but just in a more stripped back form factor with the slightly more upright riding position as well. Up from there, there's the GSX S1000. That's the naked version of the two Tourers that we just looked at. And this is a bike I really liked when I borrowed it a year or two back, and I really like the styling as well. It's quite edgy, but I do think it's going to have its work cut out this year, because coming in at £12,000, that makes it £3,000 more expensive than the starting price for the base CB1000 Hornet from Honda. Still, we're yet to ride the Hornet, so it may not be as good as the S1000, but it does have me wondering if Suzuki will have to change their pricing to respond to that. Now, that bike also comes in a 950, which makes more like 95 horsepower. That one's restrictable down to A2. Or, if you like the idea of it, but you're more of a retro fan, and given that the looks are really quite modern, that could be the case for quite a few people, then you could always go for the Katana, which does have a lot of the same underpinnings, but takes its styling inspiration from, of course, the iconic Katana of yesteryear. That one, if I remember correctly, was updated a year or two back. It got some engine tweaks and a couple of bits of changes to the tech, and it will cost you, I believe, £12,699, which is a £700 premium over the standard GSX S1000. Now over to the adventure kind of area of the Suzuki stand, and the V-Strom 650 is still hanging in there with the SV650 as a very affordable and reliable option as an entry point into the adventure bike riding experience. Sitting just above that though, we have the V-Strom 800 RE and the V-Strom 800 DE, both of which use that 800 parallel twin that I talked about earlier, but the RE is a little more road focused with smaller cast aluminium wheels, less suspension travel and a bigger windscreen, whereas this, the DE, well, that gets a 21-inch front, spoke wheels, sits a bit taller and a bit more robust protection. Still at the very top of the adventure lineup, you've got the 1050 V-Strom, so that's got their big V-twin, and that one also comes in a few flavors, including a kind of touring focus variant. You've got the standard bike as well, of course, and then also a DE model, which is again slightly more off-road biased. Thing is though, having ridden pretty much all these bikes, I'd say probably the 800, this one behind me, the DE, is my pick of the bunch. It's nice to have that versatility of the off-road capabilities. It's a comfy bike as well. Like I say, I really like that engine, but it's just that bit lighter than the 1050, which is really quite hefty. And also the DE version of the 1050 is really quite tall as well. And at about 5'9" or 175 centimeters, I did find it a little bit of a struggle to get on with. This one though, I really enjoyed, and I do also like that grey and yellow paint job. The biggest announcement though, undoubtedly for Suzuki at Motorcycle Live 2024, is this, the updated DRZ or DRZ 400s, which have now been rebranded as the DRZ 4S for the dual sport version and DRZ 4SM for this supermoto, which you can see behind me. Both previously, I think it's fair to say, popular bikes for their simplicity and affordability and reliability, but they've given both of them a bit of an overhaul for 2025 to try and bring them a little bit up to date. The 398cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine has had a pretty comprehensive reworking, and that means that it's now Euro 5 Plus and Euro 5B compliant, whilst also making 37 horsepower peak and 37 newton meters of peak torque. On top of that, there's some tweaks to the comfort, things like adding a twin-walled exhaust so it doesn't burn your leg quite so easily, and also some new tech, so 3 levels of power, 4 levels of TC including off, and 3 levels of ABS. Naturally, the S model, the Enduro, sits a little taller. It's got more suspension travel. It's got the 21-inch front, the 18 rear, whereas the SM or Supermoto behind me sits, of course, on 17 inches front and rear for a bit more snappy road handling and a little less suspension travel. So that one is 890mm in the seat. The dual sport is 920, so really quite a tall bike, but probably suitable for the style of riding it's intended for. Some little tweaks to the chassis as well. They've also updated the styling. I quite like the number board at the front with the single LED projector headlight embedded within, but I think the success of these ones probably hinges on the price. If they've done too much and had to push the price up, then that is going to move away from one of the things that made it so popular in the past. So hopefully when they do announce the prices, pricing, it's not so high that it makes them feel unattainable. Now these ones are available in summer 2025, so expect pricing sometime between now and then. So look, there we have it, an overview of the Suzuki lineup for 2025. Not massive changes, I think it's fair to say, but I really did enjoy looking at that Hayabusa 25th anniversary, which does make it a little bit of a spectacle for the punters here at Motorcycle Live. Do let me know though if there are any bikes that caught your fancy today by leaving a comment down below. Also, we'll put a playlist on the screen now that's got all of our videos from Motorcycle Live, so you can give them a click and give them a watch. Do hit subscribe as well if you haven't already to see all of this content as soon as it goes live. And massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.